So let's now visualize this light field from this perspective. I have my UV plane and my SD plane. Any point on the UV plane is now looking at this whole SD plane. So any ray of light arriving at one point on the UV plane is arriving from all points on the SD plane. What is the SD plane? Well, here is a simple way of looking at it. The UV plane has variety of arrays of images. Now you can imagine that at this point I've basically taken a bunch of different images at different orientations. So again, if I could basically create a pinhole here, this would see the scene differently. So what I would have this, and the SD would basically just be one single image from different viewpoints. Now by just traversing this versus that, again imagine this to be in the SD plane and this to be UV plane, I actually now have an array of images and I can traverse them one by looking at it. Now, of course, the interesting parts of this is I can now, of course, be looking at another one, and interpolation can be used to generate in between images. What happens in the other case where now I'm looking at the SD plane and extracting information? So on the UV plane. So rays are arriving at one point in the SD plane that were bound for all points on the UV plane. Again, the similar structure here, but except this time around we're not seeing the objects, but we are actually seeing more local details of the same objects. And of course, this would actually give me a UV plane. So this shows me local details in the UV plane, while SD plane was actually showing me in the previous case a lot more detail of the object. So the best way to think about it is, imagine we can create an array of cameras, and I would put a bunch of different cameras in a grid pattern and use that to take a bunch of pictures. And now I would have a huge amounts of pictures there, and what I can basically do is, using this kind of stuff, move from one view to the other, interpolate between one of them, and actually that would actually create a light field rather than pixels themselves.